Drink it in.
Back, people, welcome back to Sideline Talk podcast. I hope that everybody has had a good weekend. Arsenal are still top of the league. What a weekend it was. Look, this is going to get interesting. And of course, to discuss Arsenal's win over Liverpool, Miller is back. No coincidence there. But yeah, mate, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone all right?
Return of the dead.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. What a game, mate.
Yeah, mate, can't wait to delve into it, to be fair. And yeah, the boys haven't gone and hid. They are still with us. Dale, I'll go to you, mate. How are you feeling after Sunday? We're going to get into the game itself, but otherwise, other than obviously the disappointment and the ongoings at Liverpool at the moment, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, fine, mate. You all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, just about recover. I'll tell you what, I was knackered yesterday. 4:30 kickoffs, just not a treat. Like you no, even if you don't drink much, which to be honest, Lee probably knows how much more we drank than I do. But yeah, it just ends up a very, very long day, and it takes a while to catch up, especially when you're a father and all. But yeah, Kingman Kingham. Speaking of which, how you doing, mate? You all right? You had a good week so far?
Stupendous, mate.
Sarcasm there, I guess. But yeah, we're going to go into all the games, not just Arsenal, Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool versus Manchester City on Sunday. It gets worse. Just when you think things are not in your favour, you've got that sort of game. But then again, if there's a way for Liverpool fans for someone to lift the gloom, for a team to lift the gloom, beating Manchester City is it. Although, yeah, I wouldn't have my fingers crossed on that whatsoever. But yeah, we're going to bring up all the games results over the weekend. Chelsea, a big win over Wolves, 3-0. To be fair, Graham Potter deciding to drop Reece James and Raheem Sterling. So I was a bit baffled by that. I thought this could go pear-shaped. You know, Wolves aren't the easiest of teams to beat. So when I saw that, I wasn't so optimistic. But, you know, it paid off for him. 2-1 to Manchester United over Everton. Ronaldo scoring his 200th goal. But I do want to delve straight into the big one on Sunday because there's lots to get into when it comes to Liverpool as well. Obviously, a few injuries. I'm going to start with Sam because I know he's just itching to speak about this. Sam, what was your take on the big win over Liverpool on Sunday?
Honestly, I'm sitting back and I'm enjoying everything at the moment, mate. You know, I'm interested to see how these boys are going to publicly speak about it. Obviously, they've had their views in a certain group chat, but hey, you know, we'll see how this goes. But great game, obviously, you know, proud of the boys there coming through it. You know, once they came level twice, you know, you're thinking, oh, God, it's going to go against us there. Obviously, dubious penalty shout. I'm with the boys on that one. I personally don't think it was a penalty for us, and I think the handball was a penalty for them. But hey, you know, you've got to make your own luck, you know. And I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing.
Can't not be, mate. Can't not be. I think you're preaching for the choir when it comes to the Arsenal fan. Look, the way I see it, it's part of the game now. You're going to get good decisions. You're going to get bad decisions. Nothing's ever going to be 100%. You know, it's never going to come gold. We're used to these decisions in football now. It sounds bad and pathetic, but I am. I'll be more baffled if I see a game without a decision going the wrong way than I am to see a game with it going the right way. So, but yeah, Lee, talk to me on your thoughts about the game and do go into that as well, because I want to get your opinion on the referee. And obviously there was lots of things happened. It had everything. The only thing it didn't have is a sending off, to be honest. I think that was the only thing the game was missing, but lots of goals, lots of decisions to make, some controversial, some not. But yeah, talk to me on what you thought, how you felt about Liverpool's performance overall first.
I thought it was very predictable with how this season's gone, really. Obviously, Arsenal came flying out the blocks as they normally do so far this season with their early goal, which was from shit defending from Liverpool, as has been the case all season, really. And then for the rest of the first half, it was pretty much Liverpool dominated. And it probably should have gone in drawing at half time. And it's like that goal before half time absolutely knocked the stuffing out of Liverpool. So where they should have been ending in the first half, being optimistic that they're going to take the game to Arsenal, which they were doing at 1-1. They conceded that goal through poor defending again and just didn't turn up for the second half, really. Don't get me wrong, scored a cracking two cracking goals, especially Firmino's is very nice football.
Yeah, great finish from Firmino. He's having a hell of a season.
And yeah, there's no point speaking about refereeing decisions. We know how bad they are. It happens every week. We talk about it every week. It's just officiating is terrible in this country. We all know it. The only positives are that obviously majority of the first half we played quite well, and I guess Trent's not going to be around for a couple of weeks. So because when Gomez come on for him, he pretty much had Martinelli in his pocket, which begs the question is why didn't he start Gomez when Trent's had such a difficult couple of weeks?
Martinelli needs to empty his pocket though. Trent needs to get to Qatar. Gomez he was alive. Honestly, the first 20 minutes, I think it was like when Martinelli scored that goal, I thought this is just going to be too easy for him. And then
I don't think it's that difficult to be honest with you, then, because it's every week someone's roasting Trent now. It's like it's pretty par for the course really this season so far.
Do you think it is a confidence thing though? Like before I go to Dow, do you think it is a case of the pressure has got to him? Because obviously in this league now, like when you see all these all-time Premier League 11s, the situation where it really gets difficult is when you look on the flanks, because we are a bit underwhelmed when it comes to right backs and left backs especially. I feel like you could walk into the league at the moment, be a great left back and shine. Like Luke Shaw had one great season at Man United and people were saying he was the best thing since sliced bread. It's just how it is. With Trent and James, there's always that debate. Who's the better defender, Trent or James? Cancelo gets put in the mix and stuff like that. He has got like big weight on his shoulders. Do you feel like maybe the outside pressure is getting to him? Because
I do feel some of it is unjustified. Like when I watched the first goal back, there wasn't a lot he could actually do. Because he had sort of two or three players running at him, so like he can't pick up three players on his own.
We've got one of the quickest front threes in the league as well. Let's not forget that.
It was in the first minute of the game. It probably took him by surprise. You can't. He needs help from the midfield or whoever's following their runners. Really, you can't sort of track 2-3 people at the same time. So there is kind of a bit of unjust criticism there, but at the same time, I still think he should be doing better. So it's a tricky one. But yeah, I thought first, obviously, Arsenal started fast. Liverpool came into it, looked a better team going in at half time until the second goal. And then, yeah, second half was pretty much Arsenal deserved it. Don't know. That's pretty much it. That's how I see it anyway.
Dale.
I'm interested to see how we come back against Rangers tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. Definitely hold that thought. Dale, do you agree with Lee in terms of the first half, especially because you did come out, you conceded and then you seemed to respond quickly to it, and then obviously Nunes got the equaliser. But do you feel that is where the game went wrong with the with Saka's goal just before half time? Do you feel like that sort of did put a dent in Liverpool into coming out in the second half and getting a result?
Not really. I think I agree with Lee. I think we started poorly. I was down. I was in line basically with the 18-yard box of where the first goal went in, the Martinelli goal went in. And for the first 2 or 3 seconds of the game where Joel Matip's first clearance up the pitch was shocking. The ball comes straight back. We then tried to play about with it and give it away straight away. I just think to myself, it's naive from experienced defenders when you're away at a team that are flying high. You know that they're going to come out and want a fast start. Why are you trying to play at the back in the first minute or so of the game? Just get the ball forward. Get the ball forward, get up the pitch. But we didn't. We sat back. And it's kind of like we've gone from playing this ridiculously high line to now playing a ridiculously low line. And we were so deep when that, if you look at the goal again, when Saka picks up the ball, how deep the back four were. So deep. And then obviously it's nice movement from Odegaard. And I said before, the one player you don't want in and around the box with the ball and the time with the ball at his feet is Odegaard. And he picks a lovely pass, and it was a lovely finish by Martinelli. But I agree with Lee. I think from that point, from the goal going in, it almost woke us up a little bit. And I think for the rest of the half, we were pretty much the dominant team. I think Nunes had a decent shot saved by Ramsdale. I think there was another one where it was almost an own goal, was it, by Saliba? I think it was
Saliba, yeah.
And he made a good save. I thought I don't really remember too many times in the first half where I felt like Arsenal were going to score. And then obviously
I think Gabriel had a bit of a bad game on Sunday. If I'm going to say anything out. I think Gabriel, he looked a bit. I don't know what it was. He just looked a bit rusty. He didn't look comfortable.
I think Nunes had probably his best game in the Liverpool shirt. I thought he was around.
That is probably why though as well, because Nunes did play. He was your best player by a long distance.
His hold-up play was really good. He was making runs in behind, and I could see how, especially in the second half. I'll touch on the second half in a second, but he's making the runs, but the ball's not coming. And I think when we got to half time and it was 5 minutes added on, you then go, right, let's get to half time now and let's keep it at 1-1. We have a free kick on the edge of your box. And somehow within 10 seconds of us having that free kick, you're attacking us and you put the ball in the net with sloppy defending. Henderson finds himself at centre half. Trent obviously comes across. Henderson doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. So he gets dragged across along with Trent. Leaves a big gaping hole. I don't even know who was in at centre back when the ball come across. I think it was it Partey who missed it and it ran through to Saka and he touches it in. And then that second goal goes in. But then the start of the second half, the first 5 minutes, we come out and score the goal. And you're thinking, right, well, we've actually started well here. But then you could see from about 55 minutes, Liverpool's legs had gone. That midfield is so old, mate. In terms of a 30-year-old footballer in a Klopp system, might as well be James Milner.
Especially when there's only two of them in there as well.
That game, honestly, I know we've been crying out for like the system change, but there's got to be adapting to the game that you're in. That game was crying out for Fabinho to come in and play in and match Arsenal up as a 3 in the midfield. I was screaming at Klopp because I weren't that far away from him saying, put the Fabinho on in a 3. Obviously, he ain't going to listen to me, but it was crying out for a bit of protection in there and an extra pair of legs in there to help because Arsenal, for all their sort of a lot of the play was in Liverpool's half. They didn't, apart from the Odegaard chance where he hit it straight at Alisson, I don't really remember Alisson making that many saves. It was a lot of pressure from Arsenal without really any end product. I think Odegaard probably should have scored the chance. I haven't seen that chance back, but it looked like from where I was up the other end, he should have scored. But I generally was quite infused by the performance up to about 55, 60 minutes. After that, it was a shower of shit, mate, to be brutally honest. But we had no out ball. Nunes was making runs, and I was watching him off the ball, and the amount of times that he's turning around at Henderson and Thiago and Firmino saying play it early. He was calling for the ball, and he's taken 3 too many touches, and the ball's gone. It's no longer on, and you can see how frustrated he was. But yeah, I think from 55 minutes onwards, it was poor. I thought Thiago was trash, mate, to be honest with you. I'm one of his biggest fans, but I thought he was trash the whole game. His passing is poor. He's diving into tackles, getting dispossessed pretty easily, and then he goes and gives away a stupid penalty. And I actually think it was a penalty. I think it's soft, but I can't really complain.
I think in this day and age, it's a penalty. Back in the day, before VAR came along, before Premier League referees weren't how they are now, maybe not. But I think in this day and age, sometimes it gets given, sometimes it doesn't. But it's a penalty in my eyes. And yeah, as for the handball, look, for me, it looks like it hits his chest first, but I can see why it would be given if it would have been. This is in terms of the Gabriel handball. And to be honest, if that would have been given, that would have summed up his day. Gabriel did not have a good afternoon. Luckily, we won, and it doesn't matter. But Nunes was really causing I think confidence problems. I think he just seemed a bit not confident. Nunes is obviously big and a force to be reckoned with. So maybe
I think there was moments in the game that game was defined on. I think the Diaz going off was a defining moment. Yeah. I thought he was giving Ben White all sorts of problems. I thought Ben White was probably one of his worst games that he's played for Arsenal this season. Not in terms of on the ball. I think I'm just talking off the ball. I thought Diaz was cutting across the back four of Arsenal quite well. He was ending up on the right hand side quite a few times, and it was causing a bit of confusion. But I think the Diaz injury didn't help. I think we lost when Firmino come on. You could just see the rhythm changed when Diaz come off because we just didn't really get back to it before. No,
you've relied on him a lot this season, though, so that is expected. In terms of my thought, like Tomiyasu, I thought he was probably our best defender. Yeah, great to see him back playing on the left as well. Bit unusual for him, but he did it with justice.
Arteta needs a lot of credit.
Very pleased with him. And look, he may not be playing like it at the moment, but Mo Salah is one of the best wingers in the league. Has been in the world at one stage. So to come and do a job at left back against him, having not been started for a while, you know, you've got to give it props, credit where credit's due. Saliba had one too many mistakes, like the positioning for him in, I think it was the Firmino goal was just looked a bit off to me. Saka and Martinelli, unbelievable. How on earth we paid 6 million for Martinelli? It's got to be one of the best businesses the Premier League's ever going to see. 6 million. And honestly, if he keeps this up, God knows what price he'll be going for at the end. I just want to see that new
that's where you
contract
won
on the
the game
table now.
I think that's where you won the game. I think that you look at the average ages of the two squads. I think Arsenal's average age is 22, 23. Liverpool's is like 29. And that told in the second half, that last half an hour especially, you could see the difference. The Liverpool, we had no legs, whereas Arsenal seemed to almost grow and their energy levels were sustainable, whereas ours was sustained for 55 minutes and then we just fucking plummeted.
But do you think, while we're still on the subject, do you not think Klopp has to answer to a couple of questions? So with the changes and not being quick enough and everything, obviously Trent being injured and stuff, Salah obviously having to come off. Like you said, you had Henderson at right mid at one point.
But I think that is Klopp's fault in terms of the changes that he made. They didn't really make sense. I mean, you're trying to get back into a game or trying to score a winner, and you bring off arguably your best strike, your best thought or source of a goal, and you put on a centre midfielder in a right mid position. That doesn't make sense.
I didn't understand the substitution. I didn't get what he was trying to play for. It didn't seem like he was trying to go for a win. And in my eyes,
he definitely settled. He was trying to settle.
He was trying not to lose. Do you know how big of a game that was for you? Like, you're now 14 points clear of top.
I think also there's more to it than just that game. I think he was sending a message to the owners to say, look what we've ended up with here. Look what we're dealing with. If you take Salah and Diaz out of that team, we've got no other wingers in the club. No.
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try and bite my tongue, because I agree that business needs doing at Liverpool. However, coming from an Arsenal fan, 3 or 4 seasons ago, we were dealing with a back four of Mustafi, Socrates, God knows who else, Kolasinac.
We were crying out for this.
Liverpool have spent some money over the years, potentially in too much similar positions. I think that's where it's gone wrong.
Our net transfer spend over the last 5 years puts us 18th in that league table of teams that are in the league now. Our net spend is the 18th. That's how much we've spent.
I think the thing is, you've spent a lot. It's all been in the attack. You needed to.
I agree with that.
We've only spent what we've accumulated. We don't spend any.
They don't really go out and go bang, 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 bang in seasons.
Mate, we signed Nunes for 65 million. We sold Mane, Origi, and Minamino. That paid for that transfer. We've spent a net spend of 20 million this season.
But then you can't operate like that then at the top.
And we've signed a right back, a left back, and a centre back in the last year to 2 years as well. So it's not like we're just spending it on an attack either.
But that's where that's obviously you're not scoring enough goals at the moment as well.
We scored
a lot of people say it's to do with the departure of Mane, which to some effect I can agree. But the problems I'm seeing,
the whole system wasn't around Mane though.
No,
I couldn't disagree more with that Mane comment. We scored more goals than we have last year. All the mistakes are coming from the back. It's the midfield and the defence.
The midfield is the biggest issue. That midfield needed surgery 3 years ago. When we sold Wijnaldum, or we let him go, that was when we needed to then go and reinvest in 2 or 3 younger, hungrier centre midfielders who can get around the pitch. At the minute, we're still persisting with the same midfield 3 that we've had for the last 3 seasons.
Do you think there's half of the chances though of getting Bellingham in January?
We ain't getting Bellingham anyway.
It's defenders it's key performers who are usually reliable, not being reliable. Van Dijk's been terrible this season, and he hasn't been
the same, mate, since that injury.
One thing I'm going to discuss
as
well.
Last season, he was brilliant last season.
Looking at your injuries now, I've just been reading on them. You've got Trent out for some weeks.
Yeah.
It looks like your centre half is out now as well. Who, to be honest, I think was it last season? Was it last season when Matip had like just as good of a season as Van Dijk? I think it was, wasn't it? Like
Matip's really improved.
He's a great player, to be honest.
But,
it
mate,
was on a 3 as well, wasn't it? Am I right?
This is half the problem, though, right? We've got
free transfer.
We've got Matip who can't play more than
Maybe we need to sign a fitness coach. Maybe that's where it's going wrong. The amount of fucking injuries I've never
This
seen.
is the problem. We've got Matip who can't play more than 20 games a season. We've got Oxlade-Chamberlain the same. Cater's the same.
Thiago.
He's the same.
Thiago's
Thiago's the
biggest
same.
worry, mate. That's
We've
your
got five or six players there who can't put together 20 games a season, and we're trying. And it's just, and it's not on top of that. They're all in their 30s now. This squad, I think we've got about 12 players now who are in their 30s. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you need to have a bit of a mixture of maybe 2, 3, 4 that are in the 30s, and the rest are like between the ages of sort of 20 to 27, 28. We've either got really good youngsters or we've got people who are past their peak. We've got no one in the middle.
It's a chance now for other people to step up anyway the next couple of games. So I'm intrigued.
Speaking of which, there is an elephant in the dressing room that I want to speak of, and I'm sure you know what's coming next. So with Arsenal, we had our new contract dilemma. I won't speak of his name because he's been talking rubbish about Arsenal again. But yeah, that happened. History dies young. He's now at Chelsea.
He's trying to justify himself, man.
Wish him the worst. Wish him the absolute worst. But Mo Salah signed a new contract. Obviously, really good news for Liverpool after the season he had. Himself and Son, obviously, last season doing brilliantly. Son started off in the wrong gear, found a bit of form against Leicester, and that, having a bit of a dip again. Salah seems to just isn't going well for him. Diaz is now injured. What's your take on it now, Dale? Like, where do you go from here? Because you can't drop him, not with the injury problems you got at the moment. He's not going anywhere. But where do you think it's gone wrong for him? Do you think it's the fact that the team are not performing themselves that has maybe had an effect on him?
I think
is it the pressure?
No. If you watch the games, like I think Lee said it a week or so ago, there's a tactical change that's happened, and I don't know why it's happened. I don't know whether it's because he's trying to incorporate Darwin into the team or whatnot. But Salah used to make his runs from outside to in. And he used to always do that run from outside. He'd be hugging the touchline, and then as soon as Trent got the ball, he'd sprint inwards. It's now the other way. He's starting inside the fullback and the centre half. When Trent gets the ball, he's pulling wide. He's almost trying to make Salah become the creator rather than the scorer, which to me just is madness. We're not getting Salah in the areas that he used to get in, which was in between the centre half and the left fullback. And he's not occupying that space anymore. He's playing as a winger rather than an inside forward, and that's for me the biggest reason why. Yeah. I don't know why he's done that. I don't know. Maybe it's something
needs to change, because
also just touching on that, boys. And then you obviously don't want to speak his name, and we won't. But touching on that, I felt like in the reverse side of that, when it was our player doing that, he downed tools. What you can see is that he's still trying Salah. It's just obviously not going for him. I don't think he's still not putting in the effort.
In my opinion, though, this should get to a situation where you fit the system to the player, because Salah is far too good of a player to change things about. He just went and had like one of the best seasons to date for not just a Liverpool player, a Premier League player. Ridiculous stats last season. Now, something's obviously not working. Switch it back, because they're just going to fall further down in the mud otherwise.
It's not as easy as that.
Diaz has been their
He's actually not playing badly. He's just not getting goals. He's not really. He's not.
Yeah, but that's all well and good, though.
That's what you want out of Salah, though, isn't it?
That's all. That's what he does.
But we're getting goals elsewhere. Like, scoring goals isn't our problem this season.
Just keeping them out.
We scored more this year than we have last year. It's not our issue.
Okay.
I don't really see the Salah problem as a massive problem.
Yeah, if you look at the games we've drawn and lost, he's
got a fair few assists this year. Like, he's set a few up. He's being sort of less selfish.
I think this comes to a situation, though, just where the pressure is on him to score. Like, look at Bukayo Saka. Not to compare the two, because Saka's still got a mountain to climb. But people thought he was having a bad season. He's got 3 assists. He's got 4 goals and 3 assists in 9 games. Like,
do you know what I think? This season for Saka, just touching on Arsenal for a minute, I think this season for Saka is the season where, I think I said it a few weeks ago, that I really rate Saka. I think he's a good player, but there was starting to be a conversation around whether he was sort of overrated because his stats as a inside winger or a inside forward, as you want to call it, his stats were quite poor in terms of goals and assists and goal contributions. I think this is the season now where I think if he really wants to be considered as one of the top sort of youngsters in Europe, he's got to put the numbers up and that's not just goals, that's assists and goals. He's got to put their numbers up this season to sort of warrant it. I think if he can finish the season with 10 plus goals and sort of 10 plus assists, I think you'd say that, he's finally there. But I think with him, I mean, even on Sunday, he wasn't in the game an awful lot, but he still obviously scored 2 goals. But he didn't actually he didn't get on the ball as much as I thought he might do. But I do think this season's a big season for Saka. I was quite pleased if we was going to lose and we was going to obviously lose the way we did, that Saka was the one to score. I think he deserves to be sort of highlighted as one of the best young talents in Europe.
He goes under the radar a bit because of, I just think again it's the pressure, because he gets put in conversations like Foden or Saka and stuff like that. People just compare them, and it's like, look, Foden's in a team of Man City that are scoring for fun every week. Saka is not going to do that because Arsenal, we're still, as well as we're doing, we're still building. This front three have been playing together for 9 games only. And to be honest, they've done well. I was looking at stats. So Saka's got 3 goals, 4 assists. Martinelli, 4 goals and 2 assists. So, that in 9 games from 2 wingers is impressive. Jesus is up and running himself as well. And yeah, we've got a few good games that look like they're going to go in our favour. Leeds away, it could go either way, to be honest. The form we're in at the moment, I like to think we're unstoppable. But Leeds, I've never been, as well as it went, I think it was it last season on Boxing Day? We absolutely stuffed them and they played 17-year-olds or something like that. Yeah, other than that game itself, I've never been confident against Leeds, just because I think it is just the stadium and the fan base. They have a good fan base and it's a good atmosphere, but I'd like to think we will go unbeaten until the World Cup. I think the World Cup's I know this sounds horrible, but I think it's coming at a very good time for Liverpool, because I think the injuries you've got at the moment, if you were going through a normal period of a Premier League, Champions League and all that, I don't know. It's not going well for you as it is. I think it would get even worse. But speaking of which, Dale, go into this while you're about to respond tomorrow night. Obviously, a chance to respond in the Champions League, a massive game really, because if you don't win this, then you've got to beat the likes of some other big fish in the pond. But yeah, go on and say what you're going to say, and then give me your thoughts on tomorrow night, mate.
But I forgot what my point was, to be fair. But I think Arsenal have just got to ride the wave, mate. I think you should be going into every game now thinking that you're gonna win, and you've got. The thing is, as well as obviously you did, and you got a good result, and it's sort of like a monkey off your back in terms of playing a big six, top 6 side, and you've got that win. I didn't actually think Arsenal played that well. I think you've played better this season, and I think that's kind of testament to Arsenal really, that you've not played your best and you've still managed to get the victory. So I think Arsenal fans, rightly so, they should be excited, because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what football's about, isn't it? You want to see your team winning.
That's how you finish high in the league as well, is getting results out of nothing.
And I think as well that the fans being, like, you've seen how powerful the fans can be for Liverpool when they get behind you, and you can almost be like the 12th man and get a team over the line. So I think Arsenal fans just have to enjoy it, but obviously just realise as well that it is only 8 or 9 games and there's still a hell of a long way to go. But enjoy it while you're there, because look, we've tried to beat City to a title for the last 5 years and we've got 1. So believe me, there's going to be a bit of heartbreak along the way, because it's trying to beat that team is just a joke. Before
we go into Rangers Liverpool, my take on it would be, the beginning of the season, I wanted a strong push for 3rd and a Europa League campaign. Hopefully win that or win the FA Cup, find a trophy somewhere. I'm not going to move the goalpost now just because we are performing so well. If we are there for a title charge, it's just
maybe
a benefit.
Well, at least second. I think you should be aiming for second now.
I think the problem we're going to have is, I think history is going to repeat itself. And come January, the signings that we didn't make during the summer, for example, a centre midfielder, or getting rid of Pepe and not signing someone else to back up Saka, we're going to pay a price for that. Saka is about to have one of the busiest seasons yet. Europa League, Premier League, and let's be honest, he's going to probably play a big part in the World Cup, you'd like to think. So keeping someone like him constantly fit, it's just a big, big ask. Thomas Partey's had his injury problems as it is. He's crucial to keep fit this season. The good thing is, touch wood, Xhaka seems to know what he's doing in terms of fitness. He had an injury last season, but he seems to always be on his feet and keep his foot on the ground. I just hope we don't slip up. I think the only thing stopping us is fitness. And I'd like to think in January they're going to get something done, because if they don't, come February, when we're hopefully looking at round of 16s, etc., knockout stages, we could be in trouble. If we lose either or Saka or Partey, And even Jesus, look, an injury to him, you're relying on Eddie Nketiah to step up every week. It's still not enough, not for a title charge anyway. But look, if it goes completely against what I've said, it's only a good thing. I just think in terms of the depth, we've just maybe not got enough to push for a title charge all season. I think Liverpool will come back up as well. As much as I like bantering you now and giving you the stick, I can't see Liverpool staying down there for long. Klopp knows he's got to turn it around. It's just a case of how and when. But yeah, let's go into Rangers. Lee, I'll come to you and then Dale can respond. Tomorrow night, how are you feeling about this one away in Scotland?
I have no idea.
They're so low.
It's a tricky one. Obviously, Ibrox atmosphere, European nights is famous. Hopefully, it's not going to crush us even more. I'm intrigued to see what Klopp does with the system, with the lineup. Is Harvey Elliott going to come in? Is Carvalho going to come in? Obviously, expected to see Gomez come in. I'm hoping to see Kanate get his fitness up, ready hopefully for the weekend. Fabinho's got to come back in as well. He's got to prioritise Champions League above everything else at the moment. I feel like the game against City at the weekend's a free hit now. We're not expected to get anything from it, so place more importance on the Rangers.
Can someone inject this into my veins? A free hit. I never thought I'd hear a Liverpool fan saying that. This is coming out of our dictionary.
We've already beaten once this year. Wow. Yeah, well, it's a must-win in the Champions League group. To be fair, we need to win this one. We've obviously got Ajax away to come in Napoli, so this is a must-win. Really, we need to get a win.
Mm.
I wouldn't back you lot against Ajax at them. I wouldn't back you against many teams, but Ajax definitely not.
Well, I think Napoli Napoli look really good at the moment. So to have them in the final game, hopefully we can have qualification sorted before that.
Yeah.
And Champions League is the best competition, best club competition out there. So I would prioritise this game above the City one. Focus on this and see before we decide what's going to happen with the weekend, I suppose.
When am I allowed to ask you boys a question on Klopp, just because it's kind of still Liverpool based? When will the pressure start to mount? Do you think that's a complete free hit until the end of the season? How bad does it have to get before the conversation starts, is what I'm saying?
He'll never get sacked.
2 seasons of bottom half, maybe.
He'll never get sacked.
You don't think
For me, he'll never get sacked. I don't.
I'm very baffled that 2 seasons in the bottom half. Surely he doesn't get that long. I'm not saying he will never.
He will never.
If you're looking at Arteta, do you remember how many conversations
this ain't Arteta? Yeah, this ain't Arteta.
But Klopp's not in the same league, mate.
Klopp in theory has had. Okay, Arsenal have been given some money to spend. I get that 100%. But Liverpool's expectation is way up there.
But it's only up there because of what he's done. It's only up there because of what he's done.
Mate, if you gave any other manager that Liverpool squad that he inherited and then gave him the money and gave him the investment that he's had, no other manager would have done what he's done. None.
But then do you not feel like you have to stay modern though, in the sense that you can't just carry on?
Listen, the thing is, we don't know what goes up. Klopp said before. Klopp's never gonna call out the owners of the club, but he has said before that he wished that we were a bit more risky, he called it, in the transfer market. And so it's not from the lack of him trying. I just think that he's under such restraint. We're basically a top 6 club that operates as a bottom 6 club in terms of the way that we reinvest in the squad and where the money goes. Don't forget, in that time, we've redeveloped the stadium. We've built a new training ground. So all these things come out of that budget that you would spend on players. So you have to work under so much restraint. Yes, he's responsible for some of the issues that we have on the pitch in terms of his team selection, in terms of the loyalty he shows to certain players, the tactics, in-game stuff, all the actual football-based stuff. Yeah, you have to hold him account for, but he's got so much credit in the bank for what he's done.
Yeah,
it's hard to kind of then go, because we've had 4 years of basically winning every game here, more or less, to then having 6-7 games where it's not been great, to then start going, we want Klopp out. They're idiots. The people who call for him to leave are idiots.
It's all over social media at the moment, mate.
But they're idiots. Ignore them. They're idiots. You're not gonna. Who? Tell me now who you bring in at this stage of the season with the players and everything we've got that does a better job than him. No one.
If
anything, it'll be worse.
I sort of share Gary Neville's opinion. Like, and he's a diehard Man United ambassador, and there's no one in the Premier League who's done a better job than he has in the last 5 years. I just don't see that changing in the next year.
Listen, money doesn't mean nothing at the end of the day. Look at Man United, look at Chelsea, look at City. You can it's about who you buy for the system and the way you want to play. It's as simple as that. Your recruitment is everything. And
I think the thing is as well, you're not far off the fixed puzzle. I generally just think it is that midfield. You need to find someone in that midfield.
And listen,
get a good system going that works for the midfield you've got as well. I think it will go.
This is the thing. The system that he's got works. It's just the players that are in the system now are outdated, and Klopp's very stubborn in the fact that he will not sign somebody unless he can almost guarantee that player fits that system. So again, it's not just a case of they might have gone to Klopp and said, "Here's 80 million or here's 100 million. Go and buy yourself 2 centre midfielders." But he might have gone, "Actually, no, because I want Jude Bellingham. We can't get Bellingham. I'm willing to wait." That might be his decision, and he done the same with Naby Keita. We waited a year before we got Naby Keita.
But then you've also got to ask the question, Dowles, you just said about the money for the training ground and stuff like that. But then you have been a successful team. So where's that competition?
No, I agree. I totally agree, mate. But again, you've got to look at it from the owners will only spend what we generate. You've given Salah a brand new contract, which is then I don't know what he's on now, 350 grand a week or whatever it is that he's got. You've then given Virgil van Dijk a new contract in that time. I think Fabinho signed a new contract in that time. I think there's been a couple of others who have signed new contracts in that time as well. So all that money adds up to where that money goes. And I agree with what you're saying. We've been a successful team. So where is that money going? But it's again, the club. It's like anything, any business, any manager comes to you and says, "This is how much you've got to spend." You can't then go to him, "Well, where's the other 70 million gone?" Yeah. That's not how it works. You have to go. He gets told, "This is how much you've got to spend." You can spend what you generate on players. We needed a striker. Benfica wanted 85 million for Darwin Núñez. There was no one else on the market that we were going to get that was up to the level that Klopp thought. We had to pay that money. So there's the money gone from the transfers that the sale of Origi, Minamino, and Mane, and then he's working with whatever he's told he has to work with.
We have only lost 2 games as well.
I mean, let's be honest. Klopp's going nowhere. I think it is a case of what Dale said. I think at the moment your midfield, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. I think you're just all these players are not fit for the system. You need someone that is. If that's Bellingham, I don't know.
Listen, as well,
to be honest,
you've got to remember,
I think Bellingham. I think he's going to ride. I think he's going to ride the waves for as long as possible in the German league. He's still so young. He doesn't need to go anywhere yet. Look at Mbappe. He's in the same situation. While you're at that age, just enjoy life. And, they know that the Premier League's a completely different ball game. And it's not, I'm not having any disrespect on the German league whatsoever, but they know it's a much bigger challenge. Haaland's come and done it, but not everyone will.
The last thing on Liverpool. So I know we got to move on to other stuff, but I think what you got to remember is that the way that Liverpool set up and the way that we play in terms of the intensity that we play at, a 31, 32-year-old who's been playing in that system for 4 or 5 years, the mileage that they would have clocked up as opposed to a David Silva who plays in Man City side where they dominate possession, it's chalk and cheese. Henderson's probably clocked up maybe 2, maybe 3 times the amount of miles in his legs that potentially, say, a David Silva or Bernardo Silva would have done. I still think
you dominate most of the teams you come against with possession.
Yeah, but 60 minutes now. This is the problem. You've seen this season at the 60-minute mark, we run out of steam. We can't sustain that press that we used to be able to do for 70, 80 minutes. We're doing it for 55, 45, 60, and then we're running out of legs. It's just the problem is the defense is getting exposed because the midfield can't close the gaps, and it's the same the other way, that the forward line are not getting the service they need, and because the midfield just can't get up and support them, and they can't get back to support the defence. It's that simple. If you put in a Moises Caicedo or a Jacob Ramsey, I'm not even too sure that Jude Bellingham's the answer, to be brutally honest with you. I think he's a very good player, but I don't actually see him as a perfect fit for Liverpool. I might be one of the only few, but I don't actually see him as being
You're one of the only
few. I honestly, I think he'd be great going forward.
I'm a bit baffled. You've just mentioned Jacob Ramsey and Caicedo, and then you said Bellingham's not the answer.
No.
You didn't see the likes of Gerrard, Lampard, Vieira, Roy Keane doing what Bellingham's doing at their age. You know what I mean?
No. I'm not saying Bellingham's not a brilliant player, but I don't think he would be a like for like in terms of the system that we play. I don't think he would slot in and all of a sudden you go, all Liverpool's problems are solved. I don't see that. I think you still need something else. I think it's like Gini Wijnaldum, for example, was always that player that you never really said he was you wouldn't ever go, oh, Gini Wijnaldum's world class. But as soon as he wasn't there, you go, oh my God, where's Gini?
You missed him, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So a person like Ramsey or Casado or someone of that ilk, I think would support Bellingham in terms of bringing him in. But people who say, oh, all we need is Jude Bellingham, and then all of a sudden our problems are solved. I don't agree with that. I think we need more than just Bellingham.
I get what you mean. Speaking of Jacob Ramsey, we need to have some sort of discussion. And I think it was Lee that said it at the beginning of the season. I could be wrong. Correct me if I am. But Steven Gerrard, what is going on there at the moment? I mean, Villa. Do you feel like, I'll go to you, Dale, because I know you watched the game last night. Do you feel like he's perhaps getting away with something this season? I've seen, like, when I'm looking at it, the results Villa are getting, the way they're playing football, I kind of agree with what Roy Keane was saying yesterday. It's so boring, like, considering the players and considering the team. Ollie Watkins, I'm not saying he's not the best thing at all. There's many other strikers out there better than him, but Coutinho, Danny Ings, and then you've got Leon Bailey, Buendia. Do you feel like he's doing enough with his team, or do you think it could come to a point where it's a bit too much for him to deal with? Because obviously he had a really good success at Rangers. Don't get me wrong, brilliant. I always said he perhaps should have stayed there and let that time run out and get the job done. Do you feel like this season Villa have got too much for him to work with, and that he's just trying to find a rhythm? Because I mean, 1-1 against Forest. Look, I'm not going to disrespect Forest anyway. I just think 3 points there is probably where you expect 3 points. Like, it's Forest easily being the worst team this season, in my opinion, bar Leicester. Yeah, what's your take on Gerrard? I want to know from you, because I know you're obviously a Liverpool fan, and there's always been that conversation of, oh, Gerrard will maybe one day become a Liverpool manager. I don't agree with it, because I feel like he's been given enough chances in the Premier League, in the Scottish League, and it's still perhaps too much to deal with. But yeah, talk to me about your thoughts on them yesterday.
I didn't think they played that badly. I think they're just. I think the one most worrying thing for Villa at the minute, I think, is he doesn't know his best team. I think that's the most worrying thing. I think you've got.
He's had time to find out as well, which is even more alarming.
I think you've got Buendia and Coutinho are basically the same player, and I think a lot of the Aston Villa fans are a bit baffled about why he signed Coutinho, because I think they kind of thought, well, we've got Buendia, he's younger. A lot of people felt that he was probably better than Coutinho at the time. Doesn't help when you bring in a top big money centre half and he gets an injury and he's out for pretty much the whole season after like week 1, I think it was. But to be fair, I had Villa as my sort of surprise package this season. I was expecting them to really surprise a few people, but it's kind of gone the other way for them. They've just not really. Do you know what they are? A bit of a team that when you look at their squad on paper, you go, blimey, what a squad that is. But in theory, in actual reality, is they're actually not that great players. I think Ollie Watkins is the prime example of a player that, because he's easy on the eye and he's big and he's strong, but actually, if you watch him, he ain't actually that much of a threat. He doesn't really do an awful lot in the game. I'm surprised that Danny Ings hasn't been given a run in the team, because I think he's proven that he can score goals given a run of games. But yeah, Villa are a bit of a strange one. I think I don't know. I don't really know. I haven't seen enough of Villa this season to really have a definitive opinion. I think Gerrard, listen, you got to remember, he's still a young manager. He's still learning his way. He's going to make mistakes along the way. I think it's a kind of like, you just got to, if you're giving him a project, I think you just got to give him the project. If you've given him a 3-year project, I think you might as well just see it out. I don't think they're ever going to get relegated, but it's a bit like, I suppose it's kind of like the Arteta thing, isn't it? Where the first 2 seasons under Arteta weren't great, and then who knows, the 3rd season he might.
Who knows what he could do?
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, the Diego Carlos injury that obviously came as that wasn't ideal. I mean, it's actually been quite baffling how many new signings to clubs have gone and got injured. But for me, I just think he's going under the radar because a lot of other teams are perhaps not performing to their level either. One being Leicester City, who lost again. Miller, how would you feel if you was a Leicester City fan right now? What do you think is, in my eyes now, this is just becoming a joke? Like, do you think it is a case of they just don't feel that anyone else can come in and do as good of a job or a better job? So we were talking earlier of Klopp, and look, no one's going to come in and do a better job. Well, this is a completely different situation. This is Leicester City. And I mean, I said 2 weeks ago on here, 6 points out of those 2 games, surely. and they've gone and lost to the one game I actually thought they would win. Like they
Get it
went
right,
and I actually thought they would struggle against Nottingham Forest, and they battered them, and then they've gone and lost to Bournemouth. But yeah, how long do you think it is until time is up for Brendan? Another Liverpool. I feel like we're just talking about Liverpool in this show, but another man, obviously, previously at Liverpool.
I think there's a couple of ways you can look at it, you know. I mean, it's clear that they're reluctant to pull the trigger on releasing him, which is okay, fair enough. I think that is going to happen eventually. I don't know how much worse it has to get.
Yeah.
I do feel sorry for them in the sense of, you know, well, him personally, because, you know, the lack of investment is clear to see. They haven't invested at all. So, you know, but
I mean,
again,
I wouldn't go that far.
they haven't, mate. Over the years, realistically, have
They
they?
didn't
I think
sign
they've.
anyone. Summer, did
I
they?
think they've invested. They've just invested badly, but
No, I
not
don't think
this
they have.
season.
I
Not
don't
this
think they
season.
signed a single player.
Yeah.
Not this season, but they have chucked money on the table. Like Dakar, they signed. I'm trying to
Daka's
think of
done
who the
nothing
other one
since he's
was.
been there.
Yeah, it just didn't pay off. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think who was the other one. They signed. Is it Samare? Samare, yeah, he came in.
Yeah.
He's not really done much. This is the thing; it's just been money spent badly. This season, how like we said this at the beginning, how you can let Fofana and Schmeichel go and not replace either of them.
Yes, exactly.
That is the big problem. Relying on Vardy again, shouldn't be doing that. Like his legs were gone a long time ago. Soon as he retired in international football, that should be you thinking, right, we can't. This man ain't going to bring us 20 goals anymore. Yeah, like, and Daka was never the answer. Harvey Barnes and Maddison, thank God that they're still there. Well, for them anyway, because they could have easily turned. Harvey Barnes, I don't see what he's still doing there really, because he's a good player. He's just. I'm not sure whether it was the ACL that held him back.
In the sense of before Maddison gets snapped up in your Barnes, you know.
Yeah, Maddison's gone 100%.
He's going to start kicking up now because he's looking like a twat, isn't he? Let's be real. But yeah, I don't know. I feel sorry for Brendan. I think there is obviously a world class manager there once upon a time, but you know.
I was waiting for you to say something then.
I'm not going to give him this credit now. Don't worry. But I just feel like, yeah, I think they start to lose before the World Cup, maybe a couple more games, then yeah, I think that gives them that period of looking for another manager. Yeah, it's not looking good.
That works actually. Yeah, I suppose like you've only got what, a couple of games now, 3 games is it until the World Cup period starts. So yeah, maybe they're just looking at it to see. I mean, that's probably not the most sensible thing to do because it's not getting any better. But yeah, maybe they're just waiting for the World Cup period.
They need a break, mate, don't they? That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, hopefully Maddison is on the plane and he puts himself in a transfer. Well, it will be a transfer window, really, won't it? World Cup, because by the time we come back, January's around the corner, and he might be looking for a new team. There was a question which I want to get before we wrap up because I don't want to go into everything. Obviously, Manchester City, we talk about them every week. Haaland once again did answer any critics that Dale has. Look, triple captain, absolutely.
You have to blow him up for this.
But yeah, I just feel like we're going to be doing it every week. But yeah, City 4, Southampton 0, no surprises there. But Newcastle, there was a question on Monday Night Football last night, and it's been going around on Twitter, and I want to know what you thought, or what you three think, and anyone that's been tuning in. I've seen a couple of you are there. Is Bruno Guimaraes one of the best centre midfielders in the Premier League? I feel like it's a tricky one because there's too many, but I've just seen it around, and I think it is just based on the fact he's come in and adapted quickly. But Dale, what's your thoughts on Bruno Guimaraes? Obviously, 5-1 at the weekend. Arsenal, look, we could have bought him last season. People can say we could have not. But, you know, history is history. We're moved on. We're playing well. But, yeah, what's your take on Bruno Guimaraes? Do you think he's better than Declan Rice?
Yeah, he is. To be honest with you, I have to be honest. I haven't seen that many games of him live. I know that obviously he's kind of he is involved in a lot of good stuff that Newcastle do. I think so. I mean, it depends what you class as a good central midfield player. Everyone has different things that they look at and think might be more beneficial. But I think he's gone into Newcastle. He's obviously proven that he can play at this level. I think it does help playing in a team that are on the up anyway. You know, they're a club on the up, and it seems like a perfect fit for them. You know, it's hard to say. Like I say, it's hard for me to sit here and say I think he's one of the best in the league. I'm brutally honest with you, I haven't really seen enough of him to really give an opinion on it. But from the bits that I have seen, he looks like he's tailor made for the Premier League, and looks like he's tailor made for Newcastle and where they are at the minute. It's a good signing for him, and he's doing really well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I'd call him one of the best in the league yet, but I'd have to see a bit more of him, I think.
Yeah,
But he's better than Declan Rice.
So strong. So strong.
I had to.
I think there's a couple ways.
I literally saw the debate last night. No, I saw the
Was
debate.
that the debate whether he was better than Declan Rice?
No, not at all. No, the debate was because basically they brought up the stats. Declan Rice was on there, so yeah, because he obviously is a centre midfielder.
Who was he above?
While we're touching on Declan Rice, can I just say, since he made his debut for West Ham, they've lost more games with him in the team than they've won. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my god!
Right.
Look at Lee's face.
Would you have him in the England midfield?
Yeah, would I have him in the England midfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've got no one else.
Yeah.
Him and Bellingham are our best.
What's the alternative? Henderson. Yeah. No, but to be fair, going back to Newcastle, like a great win over Brentford. Eddie Howe for England, I say. Get that absolute clown out while we can. We've got a month until Qatar. Get Eddie Howe on the plane. Chuck the bucket in. It's not going to happen, but like full thinking. I just like Eddie Howe. I always have since Bournemouth days. It would be he's the only answer now. Graham Potter's left. He's the only real man that can come to mind. I don't think Mourinho's gonna jump ship and fly on a plane.
Wouldn't leave. Why would he leave?
Yeah, who?
Eddie
Howe. If England come knocking, yes, 100%.
No, he wouldn't. I bet you. Honestly, he wouldn't.
I think he would.
They would just triple his wages and keep him.
I don't understand who wouldn't.
I
don't understand who says no to managing their country.
He shot it down anyway. I know he's got to be PC, but he shot it down.
No,
there's no way.
If England came knocking,
there's no way.
He's got one of the dream jobs in club football, managing Newcastle at the moment. Brand new owners who hired him, money to spend. He's doing really well. Why would he go to a job where you get absolutely vilified by the press and you have a private life?
Could say the same about Potter going to Chelsea, though. What did Potter have wrong at Brighton? Nothing. Well, by the money. No Saudi Arabia owners, obviously. But
club level's different, I think.
Champions League football, mate.
That was his only chance at a big job.
Yeah, he knows, yeah.
Whereas Howe can turn Newcastle into a bigger club than they are, really.
Do you actually think they've got just touching on that before we wrap up in a minute, do you actually think Newcastle are... A lot of people are saying, look, they're coming back to being the Newcastle with the Shearer days. Do you feel like that is possible, or do you think the competition at the moment the competition doesn't look like it's a lot? Obviously, because Liverpool are on I'm not going to say decline, a blip. Leicester have dropped points.
They've got a chance.
United are hot and cold.
I think the one. Go on, Lee.
Would you say?
I think they've got a chance of Europe this year.
What would you say is a realistic expectation for them now, given everything that's going on? Team for seventh.
I think they should be looking at seventh at the moment, sixth place, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the front three they've got, the midfield looks to be unlocked. Joe Willock had a good game.
There's a proper feel-good factor about the club at the moment. So, yeah, sky's the limit for them, I think.
I think with Newcastle, do you know what I've liked about them? And I think they need to continue on doing is that they haven't gone out and signed like the big superstar names that you go just because you've got a lot of money. We're going to bring in like a Neymar, or we're going to bring in someone of that. I think they're doing it quite strategically. The way that they're buying their players, they're doing their research, they're doing the due diligence on the players. And I think how a lot of new managers, when they get a big transfer war chest, they tend to go, right, I'm just going to go and have him. Whereas he hasn't done that. He's kind of gone, I'm going to sign Dan Burn from Brighton. I'm going to sign Bruno Gomes. Sort of names that are under the radar.
It's like they're developing the stadium and training facilities and things like that. So they're putting it all in place for the future.
Yeah, they've got a plan, you can see.
Man City are giving them the blueprint, because Man City done exactly the same thing. I know that they probably
I think
seventh
is realistic. Let me look at it this way. Man City, look, they're going to be up there. Then I'm looking at if I'm going to take my rivalry hat off, which I suppose I've got to. I'm going to say Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, fight between Spurs and Liverpool. At the moment, right now, I can't see us finishing second. I just can't. I generally, I think Potter's got a lot to work with at the moment as well, and they looked good against Leeds. Not Leeds, sorry, Wolves. Considering they dropped James, dropped Sterling. Let's be honest, Sterling's been their best player this season. James had an absolute field day last week against Milan. So I was like, wow, this is ballsy. And then he still went out and got a 3-0 win. So I'm just looking at Chelsea and I'm thinking the depth they've got, the manager they've got, they're going to be up there. And then, so that's 4th, 5th already nailed up. And then 6th, I'm thinking probably Man United. Ten Hag he can't afford any worse. Like, he'll go if he gets anything below that. He'll probably go if he gets 6th, to be honest. So, 7th is probably... It's going to be them or a Palace or something like that, isn't it? Because Leicester, they're usually there, but they're far down at the moment. To be honest, the way they're going, I can't even see them surviving the actual league itself. And West Ham, that they got a win at the weekend against Fulham, but even that wasn't the most convincing. I can't see them being
Everton and Brighton aren't looking too bad at the moment.
Everton are having a good patch, but
and to be fair, we haven't mentioned it, but what's his name? Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth has done an outstanding job since he come in.
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, I think, to be honest, I'm starting to wonder what actually happened with the whole Scott Parker situation, because no one expected him to get sacked.
He called the owners
called him out, mate.
But he's kind of made himself look silly because he's called the owners out, and then the caretakers come in, and now he's got the team above the team that just lost 9-0 to him. Like, they're above us now. So it's ridiculous. It's absolutely
for me, fair play to him, because that Bournemouth squad, there's not many players you'd look at and pick out and think, you're a Premier League player. I think there's the winger who used to play for Liverpool. Is it Wilson?
Harry Wilson.
Harry. Who's the one for Bournemouth on the right wing? I'm sure it's a former Liverpool player. Maybe not. I'm going to have to look at it. But so you look at someone like Sam Surridge. Who?
Billing is probably the best player, isn't he? Philip Billing.
This is what I mean. Billing.
Yeah.
He's a defender, isn't he?
Scored the weekend.
Sam Surridge, people like that. Bournemouth haven't got. They've probably got, looking at it on paper, easily one of the worst squads in the league, and he's getting results.
Yeah.
I mean, Leicester City maybe not, but considering where they were and where they are now, they're picking up points. They're higher the table, higher than Liverpool, as you say. But we will wrap up on that one. I don't want to go too much into Liverpool, Manchester City, because I know the focus is on tomorrow night. But Dale and Lee, just tell me, how many points can you see grabbing out of the next, let's say, 7 days? Do you play next Tuesday as well? You do, actually, don't you?
I think, weirdly enough, like Lee said earlier, it's kind of a game where no one expects us to win, and you never know, these sort of games where you're not expected to do anything, we might be able to do something. I don't believe we will. I think we'll probably get beaten quite convincingly, but I'd love to just nick a win against them. I know it's not going to be easy, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think we'll get beat quite comprehensively at the weekend. I could see it being 2-3-0 if I'm being brutally honest, but I just do think sometimes in these games where you're not expected to get nothing, and with the Anfield crowd maybe trying to just somehow get some of that energy back that we used to have, and who knows, Liverpool at Anfield against anybody, we can beat anyone on our day, even with the poor form that we're in. So I'm just hoping it's one of them games where we sit back and go, oh, what was we all worried about? We've just gone and beaten Man City. But on the other hand, it's one of them games where I'm like, oh, we're going to get absolutely slapped. So I don't know how to think about it. I want to try and be positive, but it's hard to be positive.
It's come at the wrong time, isn't it?
It's hard to be positive. But...
Saying that, you say it's come at the wrong time. I don't know, because I'm always on the fence that playing a team in bad form isn't always a good thing either, because they've got a point to prove. I know Sunday we won, Sam, but I was dreading it. I said in the pub, I don't like the idea of the fact they need to win more than we do, because they're just going to go all guns blazing. And let's look at it. Even without Diaz, Liverpool have got the tools for the job. Jota, Firmino, Nunez, Salah, they're all still there. You haven't really lost out that much.
We're a team that's still got the quality. We're just not in great form. And at some point, that form will turn around. And let's face it, what better way to to shut a few people up is by going and beating City.
Exactly my
But
point. Like this would be a great way to get the fans on his side, definitely.
Easier said than done, obviously. But I'm just hoping that there is a reaction and that Klopp just kind of goes in there and goes, you know what, everyone out there fucking hates us. Let's go and show these lot what we're really about, and we just put in a performance that we all just go, where the hell has that been all season?
By the way, this is a win-win for me because if you win and we beat Leeds, we get a gap on Man City. If you lose, I get to see you guys absolute meltdown again. So
I don't know what. Let's see what Lee thinks. What does Lee think? Where's his head at?
I'm just kind of thinking about it now in my head, and I'm actually feeling a bit more positive than I did an hour ago. I'm just trying to think of what I could put the lineup as in my head. Going back to 4-3-3, I think it could turn out all right.
It's got to be Nunez in the middle, obviously.
I'm just the only thing I'm praying for is that he doesn't whack Milner in at right back. Because Phil Foden,
Milner against Foden. Oh, I'd love to see that.
Against City and just
I think personally the lineup will. But
I think if you could still put a strong starting 11 out, I'd like to see us go back to 4-3-3 for that game. And you can still put a strong lineup out, especially with Jota on the left. You've got Nunez or Firmino in the middle, Salah out wide. You can still get a strong midfield three of Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, and maybe or Elliott or Jones. And you can still get a pretty strong back four if Robertson's back or not, with Tsimikas, Van Dijk, Konate and Gomez. So you can still get a pretty strong 11 out of that, and you can still possibly nick a result. So
I think being back at home is going to be a big thing. I think if we go to Ibrox tomorrow and we get a result and we just get a win, it doesn't really matter how it comes. If we get a win, it's a bit of confidence. We go back into the game at the weekend against City where the fans are going to be up for it. Like the Liverpool fans are going to be right behind them. They're going to do everything they can to unsettle Man City. You wouldn't be surprised if you see the bus getting targeted before the game and all that sort of stuff. I generally think that these are the games where Liverpool tend to rise up and actually answer a few critics, but that's what I'm hoping for anyway. I'm hoping it's one of them games where we just sit back and go, Liverpool put in a really good performance there.
I think most people will be expecting City to steamroll.
I think it'll be closer than what people think. I do, but I do think that it's also got, on the flip side of that, it could go tits up very quickly, very early, and that's my worry. But I'm trying to stay as positive as I possibly can, and I'm with Lee. I'm just hoping that we just rise to the occasion and we just put some wrongs right, basically. And
you just want to see performance, though, didn't you?
To be fair, though, the performances haven't been. It's moments in the game that have been sloppy, whereas performances have actually been okay for large periods of the games. It's just been in moments we've just done mad, sloppy things. And I think that's where we've just got to get back to being the consistent team that we were. And listen, Man City at home, everyone's expecting us to lose. The players are probably thinking we're going to get beat, but football's a funny old game, mate. And sometimes, like Lee said, we've still got decent quality on the pitch, and it only takes us. I think if we get the first goal, that could change a lot of the mood inside the stadium because the fans will be up. I think if we go 1-0 down again, it could be a long day at the office.
It's like you said as well. Man City are conceding a lot this season. Like defensively, I know a lot of people speak of Cancelo, but at the back, they've been all over the gaff. Like they're conceding
a lot.
You can get at Man City.
They have to.
My only concern is that that City are so good at keeping the ball, and with the way that the games have gone this season, after 60 minutes of us running around, gets to with half an hour to go, and we're just absolutely battered again, and we've been chasing City around the whole game. I think we've got to kind of make it like a cup tie. Just make it awkward for them, make it horrible for them. Just don't let them have any time on the ball. Give away little fouls. Take a few bookings. It's got to be that type of game. We've got to get back to that being nasty to play against. I can't remember. I was saying today, I can't remember the last time a Liverpool player got booked for like a shithousery tackle or like a bit of nastiness. I think we are missing a bit of that.
Are you forgetting the Nunez headbutt?
Oh yeah. But that was on and off the ball incident. I'm talking about like an actual I just want us to be horrible again, like horrible to play against. And I think that's what it is. We're just a bit nice at the minute. I don't see anyone getting stuck in. I don't really see anyone like just you
need a bit of grit to get results. Let's be real, like.
And I think Nunez
I loved that at the I loved that on the. I don't want to get into it now because I know we're wrapping up, but I loved that on Sunday, seeing Xhaka just run at Henderson back his man. I just loved it. That's the sort of stuff I'm here for all day.
I think this is a game as well that Núñez could be pivotal. He could be that guy, the one that is the pain in the arse for the opposition. He can be the one that can be almost, teetering on the edge of, like what Suarez used to be, like not to that extent in terms of like going above the line or going over the line, but he could be that Diego Costa type figure where he's just horrible to play against. And I think he's got that to his games. I'm hoping that we can just kind of get Núñez in positions where he can score, because I think he's proven already. If you give him half a chance, he will put it in the back of the net.
100%. Special mentions to Scamacca and Anthony anyway, both scoring. And I'll tell you what, Anthony is looking like, I hate to say it, but finally, Man United have found a good player. Look, Martial, there was all that talk in the next Henry. It didn't happen, but Anthony, 3 goals in 3 games for him. And Scamacca is looking like a great signing. West Ham have finally found their striker. We're going to wrap up because it is late. Everyone that's tuned in, thank you. Make sure you smash the like button if you have enjoyed and subscribe if you're new. We'll be back next Tuesday. Look, I'm just glad Arsenal are not playing City next week like we were meant to be, and it is Liverpool. But will they finally get the ball rolling again? We'll find out, and we'll be talking all about it next Tuesday. Have a good week, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Hang on. Happy birthday, Sally Miller. There we are. There she is.
Happy birthday, Sally.
Happy birthday, Sally.
Oh, Sally, go away.
Oh,
she
wow.
knows it's too late.
Too late. Oh, legend. I'll have to buy you a drink next time I see you. But have a good one, Sally. Hope John spoils you. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Cheers all.
See you later.
Do not scratch your eyes. You are really seeing the most extraordinary finishing.